Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. And this is our Lucha Underground review. And I believe this episode was called Pain, Love, and Sacrifice to the Gods. And what an episode it was. We got a great follow-up with Katrina after last week's three-way to the grave involving Phoenix Mill and Jeremiah Crane. We got an introduction to the new Matanza, and that was some crazy shit. The war between Worldwide Underground and the Reptile Tribe intensified, and we got further clarity and focus on the Give to the Gods match that's upcoming. And we got a new person taking an Aztec medallion tonight. So a lot happened on this episode. Ashton, what do you think of tonight's episode, man?
I like that we got 4 matches on tonight's episode, even if none of them were particularly long. And even though none of them were really long, I still really thought that the 4th match in this, series of matches was actually really good, really well done, really good, kind of well-told story, all that stuff. So, yeah, I enjoyed that we got 4 matches. I also enjoyed a lot of the cinematics that we got. We ended up getting, I want to say 3 cinematics on this show, if not 3, at least 2. I'm pretty sure it was 3, though. So it was definitely a really solid match, and or a really solid show, rather. And, man, I'm just looking forward to getting into this and talking about it.
Absolutely. So with that said, let us get right into our Lucha Underground review. And we usually get our recap of, everything that's going to be touched on in tonight's episode. And then we get into our first big cinematic, Katrina sauntering in and looking at, what appears to be like an open coffin with Phoenix in it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you say sauntering in. I want to add the detail that she sauntered in wearing black leather.
Yes, that's right. And that's important. And what does she say to Phoenix, Ashton? Your life is over, my love, or something to that effect, right?
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
And then she leans in, kisses him, and there's a glow to the kiss, almost as if she's like sucking out, whatever remains from Phoenix.
She's sucking out his life force. That's really what they've kind of explicitly said she wanted from him this whole time.
Exactly. And then when that happens, Katrina more or less undergoes a transformation, and now we see her in like fiery red garb, almost as if to say like a rejuvenation. I guess she's become the Phoenix now and has risen to where she's always wanted to be.
Shit, I didn't even think about it that way, but you're so right.
Yeah, so what did you think of the cinematic, man? Walk us through your thoughts.
This was, honestly, out of all of the sort of segments that we got throughout this show, this one probably had the most impact on, like, the greater Luchaverse, because Katrina, I guess, is now fully human again, and she's, like, fully, like, a living being again now, because, I mean, there was a little bit more to it after she kind of took Phoenix's life force and got the red dress going on and that kind of thing, but, like, that's huge to me. And I almost have to wonder if she even has the supernatural powers anymore. Like, she probably can't teleport anymore. I don't know for sure if she has the ability to kind of feed power to Mill anymore through the stone. I don't know if she can do any of that anymore.
And you know what? She doesn't really seem to care. She seems happier than ever, even if those powers are gone. And I'll tell you what, like, just seeing the glow from Katrina, like, I'm like, oh, damn, what a character development for her to have this happen, to have this real dramatic shift with her life. And we go from that, to Melissa Santos in the locker room, seemingly, looking at pictures of Phoenix and her together on her phone, when Katrina pops into view and says, oh, don't cry, Melissa, he's never coming back, sweetheart. And like really just throwing it in her face.
And she even says that it was like by the one woman that truly loved him, me.
Yeah, really rubbing it in. But then the big thing, right, is freaking Katrina drops in Melissa's like palm her half of the amulet.
The immortality granting amulet. Yeah. So now, like, I almost have to wonder if Captain Vasquez is going to find a way to, like, I'm thinking of it. There are 2 different things that we could get here, because we know that Captain Vasquez has half the amulet. We know that now Melissa has half the amulet. So I'm thinking one or the other is going to happen. Either A, Captain Vasquez is going to try and kind of manipulate Melissa into giving her that half of the amulet, because it really, like, as long as Melissa doesn't know what it means, it probably shouldn't be difficult to kind of extract it from her. Or B, and this is the more interesting one, what if Captain Vasquez manipulates Melissa by telling her what the amulet does and offering to give her half of it if she does something for her in return?
Ooh, maybe like track down the gauntlet, maybe, because I have
maybe
to
track down the gauntlet, maybe kill Catrina now that she's mortal again. Maybe, I don't know, man. We'll see. Maybe even she'll have to try and find a way to kill Mill.
Maybe, dude, that would be freaking crazy. Because I was even going to ask you if you felt like Catrina giving that half of the amulet was a mistake, because Melissa, being driven on pure emotion, she might find a way to make that half of the amulet like serve whatever purposes she has.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I see, because already you could tell with Catrina, because I feel like Catrina, when she was split between worlds, she wasn't, it's not that she didn't have any arrogance or whatever, but I feel like she's become extremely cocky now that she's gotten.
Yeah, I really do think it was more, she was more calculating when she was in the split.
Absolutely. Whereas now it's just like, whatever. It's almost like it's ironic, actually. Now that she's fully regained her mortality, she feels more untouchable than ever.
Yeah, that's kind of, I was kind of picking up on that too. And really, it kind of confuses me, because I'm like, you would think that now, having regained her mortality, that she would want to cling to that with everything that she has. And yet she's almost gone in the opposite direction. She's almost become more careless.
Exactly. So I don't know. It's crazy to me that Catrina now has got this new disposition, and Melissa, she's a woman that, like, in my mind, has nothing to lose now. Yeah. And I don't know, Catrina might have just given her a bullet to load up a metaphorical gun with and take the life she worked so hard to get back. So I'm curious how this is all going to unfold, but an amazing cinematic to set the tone for tonight's episode for sure.
Yeah. From a cinematic perspective, this one was definitely the most powerful one. But then, after this cinematic, we do find out from Matt Stryker and Vampiro, and by the way, we do have Mariachi El Bronx playing us in with the song Right Between the Eyes, which I do listen to and love. But we find out from Stryker and Vamp that the savage Jake Strong dealt so much damage to Famous B's ankle that he might need it to be amputated, and that he needs your well wishes at 423 get fame.
I'm calling that number again, just to kind of tell him that I'm rooting against him this time, and that he should have taken my call the first time, because I'm petty like that.
I know it's TwitWoW, and we don't usually read chat on TwitWoW unless it's a super chat, but I do want to read this message from Jacob Cass. He said, I think Catrina is like Phoenix now. That could be a genuinely interesting take. Maybe she is sort of so loosey-goosey and reckless now, because if she absorbed Phoenix's life force specifically, she could be immortal effectively with the 1,000 lives factor.
Yeah, and then if that was the case, no wonder she's freaking arrogant, you know?
Yeah, like, yeah, that's the thing. Like, maybe that's why Phoenix was arrogant too.
Yeah, well, he was. He was last week. Yeah, that's a great point, Ashton. It was like, oh, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Yep.
Yeah, because you got to remember, he even said, remember, I have 1,000 lives. And that was the creepy moment when Melissa was like, and they all belong to me.
And maybe that's truer than we think. Maybe Melissa will find a way to harbor the power of Phoenix. I don't know. I feel like things are going to get a lot.
I was thinking it was more along the lines of ironic, because she said they all belong to me metaphorically, but now they all belong to Catrina literally.
Yeah, I just have a feeling, dude, things are going to get even crazier before they stabilize. Like,
I mean, Catrina is living the high life, though, man. She is on her cloud 9, and I'm digging it.
See, and Catrina, to me, in one cinematic, and all due respect to the rest of the Lucha Underground roster, because I've said time and time again, I love everybody in that locker room. But to me, from a cinematic and a narrative standpoint, she has single-handedly become the most interesting character in the temple to me. Because,
but that's the thing, that, dude, like you say, she's become, but I feel like there have been multiple points in time throughout Lucha Underground history that she already has been the most important, most interesting character in the show.
Oh, I would completely agree with you on that. I would unequivocally agree with you on that. I just feel like with this one shift, right? You've got Melissa, who's emotionally spurned and has a lot of internal turmoil to work through. You have to imagine that this shift with Katrina has fundamentally altered the dynamic between her and Mill, like in ways that we haven't seen yet. Because if she's got this change now, what purpose does Mill even serve? What purpose does anything that she was dabbling in or associating in even serve now, when those were all just means to a greater end, getting her more power? Power equals access and resources equal getting my life back, sort of thing. But she's done that now. She's circumvented all that. And now I feel like she just would almost look at Mill as a burden. And in turn, because with every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? How would Mill react to that? Because Mill would be fucking pissed. And so, like, I feel like Katrina getting her life back has almost thrown everything else into chaos. I almost feel like her being deprived of a life was almost kind of like a stabilizing force throughout the Luchaverse. But I just feel like a domino effect has been unleashed. And I'm just so curious how it's all going to unravel, dude, because this is some crazy shit we're getting into now.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting take on the situation. Man, so, you know, once we find out about Famous B, we went to Famous B and then we kind of regressed back to talking about Katrina again because it's just the most interesting shit that happened on the show probably. But after we find out about Famous B needing to possibly, you know, potentially get his leg amputated, we do go into our first match of the night, which was the Big Bad Steve versus Jake Strong match. So we got Big Bad Steve coming out, still representing Infamous Incorporated, still being accompanied by the beautiful Brenda, but we get him coming out to face the savage Jake Strong.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say before what I said during live reactions, you know, as a performer, Jake Strong is all right enough, like he's passable. Really, the meat and potatoes of Lucha Underground, and we've said this time and time again, is with the more narrative substance of a character. And I'm curious what Jake Strong's story is going to become now that he's no longer associated with Infamous Incorporated. Because it's a relatively quick match. He wins with what I'm calling the strong lock. I don't know if commentary calls that as well. Ankle breaks. I even said to you, you know, half jokingly, how long before we get a Pentagon Dark versus Jake Strong matchup? And yeah, I'm just really curious, like, what they're going to do with him. But yeah,
given that he is, like, they're playing the bone-breaking soundbite over him, like, cranking on the ankle that final time. So I really do have to wonder if they are full-blown, like, just intentionally building towards Jake Strong versus Pentagon in a way that, like, they want people to associate them with each other.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would have to think, dude, because it's no coincidence, right, that Jake Strong is also breaking bones and doing this kind of thing. Because
I mean, yeah, there was literally, like, the episode that was Pentagon versus the Black Lotus Triad, that gauntlet match was literally titled, I believe it was titled Breaker of Bones. So, like, you know,
yeah,
the Breaker of Bones, and now there's like a new Breaker of Bones in the temple, and they're probably going to have a collision course.
Exactly. I really couldn't have said it better myself. So yeah, there's really not much to say about this match. It was what it was, and Jake Strong gets the win. Again, breaks another ankle in Big Bad Steve. And I'm just curious, like, again, you know, where Jake Strong's going to go, and more importantly, how Infamous Inc. is going to respond to all of this. But is there anything you want to add, Ashton, from your side of things?
I'm just saying, you take Big Bad Steve, you put him next to the savage Jake Strong, and suddenly he becomes medium-sized, not so scary Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing else really to say, though, so if you want to move on, we can.
All righty, brother, let's move on. Up next, we got cinematic yet again with Antonio Cueto and King Cuerno, and he's asking, Cueto is asking Cuerno about the Gauntlet of the Gods, which, obviously, if you're Antonio Cueto, how the hell do you know about that? Because, you know, I mean, unless Winter told you about it, but I'm pretty sure Dario Cueto saw Cuerno run away with the gauntlet, but how the hell would Antonio know about that unless Winter also saw it somehow and reported it to him? I'm just saying, there's more to this Antonio Cueto character than we're being let on. And the big giveaway in this segment specifically, this is either a full-blown blooper or it was like a little hint to those of us that pay attention to the details. either Antonio Cueto's milky eye, his left milky eye that he has, is extremely inconsistent and can come and go as it pleases, or it's a goddamn contact within universe. Like, we know it's a universe it's a contact in real life, but in universe, in kayfabe, it's a contact.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because during this segment, there was no milky eye. His left eye looked just like a normal brown eye. He looked an awful lot like Dario Cueto in this. And like then later on in the show, we literally see him come out to the temple and he has the milky eye contact in. So it has to be a contact. So either, like I said, either A, they're intentionally showing us like, listen, this milky eye thing isn't actually real. It's a contact. And that should tell you that this isn't everything that you think it is. Or the other option, which is possible, but I feel like with Lucha Underground's attention to detail, it's kind of unlikely, is it was just just a mistake. Just they forgot to have him put the contact in for this scene, and they want us to just forget that this even happened. But I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit below Lucha Underground at this point. They've had so many opportunities to screw up little details like that, and I can't recall them ever having done it.
Yeah, dude, that's a great point by you, man. That's really got me thinking. Yeah, I don't know. I hope we hear more about that because I really don't have anything to add that could strengthen what you just said because now you've just got me thinking. But I will reiterate what I said on live reactions. I'm loving this new King Cuerno, dude. Like, this guy that's just, like, confident in the face of authority, that's, like, I guess serving this higher purpose, but not in, like, this sanctimonious way or anything, but, like, he realizes there's a greater good out there, and he's going to do it, but he's still a hunter first and foremost. And you can tell, like, he still has ambitions within the temple and stuff, which I think is really cool. So he's just like, no, I don't know what happened. You know, it was just taken from me. And then Antonio Cueto, you know, keeping the dialogue up, not wanting to show his hand, says, well, you know, here's something from the gods if you're telling the truth. And it's a medallion with his tribe's insignia on it. He says, you know, you have the chance to earn this tonight. And I'm also giving you the opportunity at revenge. See, I love, because I already forgot about this, but I love that Lucha Underground doesn't forget about its own freaking product, right? Because Chavo eliminated King Cuerno from Aztec Warfare 4, he's going to face Chavo tonight. So if he beats him, not only does he get a medallion, but he gets to, you know, take his pound of flesh, so to speak. But the interaction doesn't stop with Cuerno, because somebody else enters the scene, and that's Cage. And Ashton, tell me what you thought about this, brother.
Cage shows up, and of course, because he beat the shit out of Pentagon last week, he's all, oh, where's my title shot? But Antonio Cueto just says, like, listen, man, I know you're a big, tough guy. And then, of course, we get this whole thing with Cuerno laughing, and he's just like, I'm the man. He's the machine. So we get that little bit, of course. And then Antonio Cueto says, listen, you know, I can't just give you a title shot, but I will give you an opportunity to earn a chance to win the title. And he gives him the opportunity to win an Aztec medallion, specifically the medallion of what I've been referring to, the Death Tribe. I don't know if that's canon or not, but Mil is the sort of leader of that Death Tribe, and Antonio Cueto explicitly said that in this cinematic, so we know that for a fact. He is the leader of whatever tribe that is. I say Death, it could be Death, it could be Vulture, it could be Condor. It would make a lot of sense if it was one of those birds, like carrion birds, because that would make kind of a lot of sense as to why Mil was in a constant blood feud with Phoenix, because it's like the only two bird tribes that, you know, exist, and their leaders kind of going against each other.
Yeah.
But that being said, Mil versus Cage next week for medallion is going to be fucking nuts.
Dude, that is the epitome of a fucking hoss fight, dude.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I'm not going to put you on the spot because I know Mil's your boy, but are you going with him next week, or because of Katrina's?
Honestly, believe it or not, if I wouldn't have thought too much about it, I would have probably just been like, oh, Cage is probably going to win with like the residual power from the gauntlet still left over. I'm picking Mil, man. We already saw Mil won that three-way for the gauntlet last year at Ultima Lucha 3, and I don't think Mil's lost power since then, and Cage sure as hell has, since he hasn't had any access to the gauntlet in that amount of time. So I'm picking Mil to win that thing, man.
I gotta be honest with you, bro. On my side of things, I'm picking fucking Cage, only because it's not that I disagree with your logic, But on my side, I think Mill is going to be way psychologically off step with everything going on with Katrina. Because I think Katrina's not going to express any interest in Mill. That's going to throw him into a rage. He's not going to be able to focus, and Cage is going to be able to capitalize. So I'm going with Cage. Plus, if you think about it, he already attacked Pentagon Dark. And I know Lucha Underground sometimes likes to swerve us, but one way or the other, he's getting that title shot. Maybe it won't be with Gift of the Gods, but I have to imagine Cage and Pentagon Dark are going to share a ring together at some point this season. So I'm just going to do Occam's razor for the time being. The easiest path to that would be winning Gift of the Gods. So I'm just going to say Cage advances, and that's step one.
Hey, man, that's perfectly valid. I think it could go either way. I'm picking Mill because I want to see a Gift of the Gods among the 7 tribe leaders, damn it.
Yeah, dude, fuck yes.
All right, so up next, we had our second match of the night, which was a tag team match between the Reptile Tribe and Worldwide Underground. We had King Daga and Queen Cobra Moon taking on Johnny Mundo and Taya. And this was a quick little match. It was solid. I felt like I was more impressed by Daga in this match than just about anyone. Cobra Moon was solid, but she did get taken advantage of because PJ Black showed up and kicked her right in the dome, setting up for Taya to curb stomp her and get the 3 count.
You know, it's kind of like what you used to say about Blurfexa. When you face Worldwide Underground, you're facing all of Worldwide Underground. So to me, it was perfectly legal.
Well, if you want to look at it that way, then it was still 3-on-2. So if you want to look at it that way, then wait until the Reptile Tribe's at full power, and we'll see how that war turns out.
Yeah, full power my ass. But
you really want to talk about full power my ass when Vibora showed up post-match and beat the shit out of 3 of the 4 valid members of Worldwide Underground? Really?
I will say in response to that, one, the tag match itself, honestly, was okay. You know, I mean, actually,
yeah, that's why I said it was solid.
I would agree with you that the Daga looked good. Cobra Moon also, I thought she's really stepped up her in-ring work. Those knees she was throwing tonight really looked good to me. So I'm
yeah. I mean, I feel like maybe just because I kind of follow her a little bit more closely, I've kind of watched her get better in the ring over time, so I wasn't as surprised by it. But I imagine for people who only know of her work in Lucha Underground, she's definitely improved a lot since her last match in Lucha Underground, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Johnny to me is always great, you know, with the selling and everything and just what he does in there. I think they are still heel, clearly, like after the events of tonight, which is fine. You know, I know he prefers working heel and stuff. I just didn't know what Lucha Underground wanted to do because he did, you know, have interference in Aztec Warfare only after a clean elimination and stuff like that. So it was kind of ambiguous for me a little bit, but I think Worldwide Underground are the heels here. And honestly, on a serious note, because I already did my standing for Worldwide Underground and stuff on Twitter and on live reactions tonight, I think the Vibora versus Johnny Mundo match, which you know they're telegraphing because they already did it in Wrestle Circus, and I think they're going to want to do it again in Lucha Underground. That might actually be, for me, and obviously I'm colored by bias a bit because Johnny Mundo's my guy, but that might be one of the stronger entries for Season 4 match-wise.
Dude, even just in this segment alone, we got a taste. We got a hint of athleticism from Vibora. It was probably 20% of what he's actually capable of. Dude is a freak. He comes in, he dominates. We got to see him do a kip up, which somebody his size should not be able to do. We got to see him do a fucking a standing moonsault on Mundo, which was great. Dude, I can't wait for Vibora's in-ring ability to be fully unleashed because I've seen him do some crazy shit in that Wrestle Circus match, and people are going to have their minds blown.
I feel like Vibora, you know, there was a time in TNA when Matt Morgan used to call himself the blueprint for what a wrestler his size and stuff.
Well, the thing is, Matt Morgan was a shoot 7 feet tall. Vibora's 6'5", but then he has height elevators in his boots.
Regardless, I'd say with those elevators, working with that size and everything, doing the stuff that he does, dude's freaking incredible. Blows my mind how he moves in there. And that's why I said,
makes you wonder why the hell WWE would let someone like that go. Because WWE had him. He was you and I even speculated multiple times that he would end up in the Wyatt family. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we did. God, that
And
never.
they just
Yeah.
let him go. And I don't even remember what was his name in FCW and NXT, because I don't even remember what it was.
I forget what it was as well, partner. I don't know.
I'm gonna see if I can find it online. It was Judas Devlin. That's right, Judas Devlin.
Well, I'll tell you what, freaking Vibora, again, I reiterate, him versus Mundo is probably going to be the standout for the fourth season. I'd say that match, New Matanza might be able to put on a clinic with somebody. I mean, Cajun Mill next week could be another one. I don't know what's going to end up being the strongest match that season 4 has, but already I'm coloring Vibora and Mundo as a contender because that chemistry is just going to be through the roof, I think. And I'm still enjoying the story, especially because post-match, after Vibora cleans house, obviously Johnny, as is typical of his character, he leaves PJ and Taya behind. And, Cobra Moon is just kind of laughing at Mundo while Vibora and Daga, kind of restrain PJ and Taya, and, they're screaming for help. And Cobra Moon essentially says, Johnny, you and the Worldwide Underground, you will call me queen. So she's looking for Worldwide Underground to submit. I'm definitely having fun with this story. It's been awesome. It's cool seeing Johnny do something outside of the world title picture that still, I think, is very captivating interest-wise. And I'm just looking forward to how this story evolves because we've seen stuff in the trailer that we haven't seen play out yet. So this is only going to get better. But as the big Johnny Mundo fan, I am still immensely enjoying this.
Yeah. Tonight, it's funny too, because if you're really keeping track of the battles, quote unquote, within this war, well, let's see. The Reptile Tribe cost Mundo Aztec Warfare, so that's 1-0. Last week, I believe it was, Drago lost to, who did he lose to? I forget.
Drago lost to...
Drago lost to El Dragon Azteca Jr., so that wasn't even a part of it. I could have sworn, oh yeah, that's right, because Drago lost to El Dragon Azteca Jr., but then also Mundo showed up and Taya beat down Cobra Moon. So we'll call it 1-1 there. Tonight, Worldwide Underground won the match, but then Vibora got the beatdown. So it's like 2-2. Like, we are still at an even standstill.
Absolutely, which is how a war like this should be booked, Like, if it was too one-sided for all my joking, it really wouldn't be much fun. I like seeing Worldwide Underground really be able to sink their teeth into something like this. And, yeah, like, I'm enjoying it, man. I think it's great, and I'm really curious what the payoff's going to be, because we've already seen, like, kind of a payoff here with Katrina, and, like, that shit's insane. So I'm just wondering, like, are we going to get, like, this seismic kind of thing happening with Worldwide Underground and maybe even Johnny Mundo more specifically. So we'll just have to see what happens.
And by the way, I see Javaris Carter saying in chat, Mundo got to an Aztec Warfare, but that was before the war actually started. We're not going to like go back through history and point out every little interaction that these two teams have had. We're just starting at the point that Cobra Moon declared war on Worldwide Underground because of Mundo's infraction. And starting from there, it's 2-2.
Yeah, as much as I would love to take advantage of that, Jarveris, I'll play fair. I'll say that we're tied for right now, even though Reptile Tribe is a bunch of stinking cheaters, but I digress. So, partner, what do we get after this?
Oh, well, after this, we got the big, like, ice locker scene. We see Matanza beating the shit out of some guy who is, like, draped by his wrists up above his head, literally using a human being as a punching bag, and then Antonio brings him out and gets him ready for the match.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. What are you thinking of this this new Matanza?
I'm freaking ecstatic about it. And I mean, while we're here, we might as well just get into the match. We get the one and only Mr. Pec-tacular in the ring, and the crowd already despises him because he's an insanely shit brick house built white dude with a fake ass, California smile, and everyone hates that. But Antonio Cueto comes out and he's like, listen, this isn't going to be just any match. This is going to be the first ever sacrifice to the gods match. And speaking of first evers, he also does say, I'm sorry, Mr. Pec-tacular, that your first ever match in Lucha Underground might also be your last. And then he goes on to explain the rules where the loser is sacrificed to the gods. And then he even says, Mr. Pec-tacular, you are the sacrifice, and the god is my son, the monster, Matanza Cueto.
Dude, his delivery on this promo gave me chills because just like the graveliness in his voice and just like his diction, I'm like, damn, serious shit is going down right now.
Yeah.
And then Matanza pretty much makes a beeline for the ring. Let me ask you something, partner, because you said something in live reaction. I just wanted clarity on your end. Because you said in live reactions, like, oh, I thought we were going like back to the Matanza where like every move could be regarded as a finisher type thing. Are you disappointed that we're not? Was that like a nitpick for you, or are you fine with what we're getting with this Matanza?
Thing is, like, you wouldn't want to make him too overpowered because, like, I don't need us to revert back to his like first, like when he first showed up in season 2 and he was killing everyone in 2 seconds, and like even in just Aztec Warfare Dose when he was beating everyone with one move and stuff. It's not necessarily that I wanted it. It's more that I was almost expecting it. I'm actually a little bit relieved that we're not going back to that.
Okay, so it isn't a nitpick for you. You're
no,
relieved.
Because like the thing is, I fucking love Jeff Cobb. So the more we get to see of him, the better. And if he's beating people with one move, that's not very much Jeff Cobb that we get to see. So when he's winning in these like dominant, like aggressive matches that go for like 2 or 3 minutes, I'm happier with that than 30-second squash matches.
I'm going to be honest with you, like on my end of this segment, because first of all, I am glad I got to clear that up with you because like I was just curious more about your mindset.
Right.
My concern, I mean, I loved everything about this. My concern was when Antonio comes out and says, this is a sacrifice to the gods match. I'm like, oh shit. Like they're walking the tightrope because they've always been able to do really cool effects and stuff with cinematics. That's why I've always been cool with it, because it's like it's the backstage, it's the stuff you don't see. You got to watch it on TV. And I love that Lucha Underground is that way, by the way. It's like, sure, you can come to the temple and watch, but you should also rewatch our product because then you'll get all the stuff. But, you know, when they're doing this in ring, I'm like, oh man, you know, what effect are you going to use? Is it going to look hokey or whatever? Because like with cinematic, you're able to give more polish. But a simple lights out, lights back on, no body, you know, a la Undertaker, perfect. Perfect. It's not overstated. It's not overdone. I really love that. And I said this about the whole Marty the Moth sexy star thing, where I said Lucha Underground, they know when to use the human imagination. Sometimes effects aren't everything. Sometimes the human mind can do things that CGI and other shit can't. And I love, too, that they know that they don't need to do over the top effects for everything. We can just piece together, okay, Mr. Pec-tacular really has been sacrificed. So I was relieved because I thought they were going to try and take a leap like in-ring. And I'm like, is this really going to come off well? But really, the whole segment, I think, came off beautifully. What did you think?
Yeah, I loved it, man. It's a really interesting concept to literally just blink somebody out of existence and call it a sacrifice. So I'm really curious how big of a name we're going to kind of work our way up to, because I find it kind of interesting though that Goddard's was only there for 2 shows, like maybe even 1 taping at this point. But like he showed up, he worked Aztec Warfare, he went home, and then he came back and he worked this match only to get sacrificed. So like Mr. Pec-tacular was in the trailer, but he only appeared on 2 episodes, and it looks like he's not going to be on any more after this.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about, because the first episode was
how I feel about that, because like I almost feel like I can't get emotionally attached to anyone new to the temple anymore, you know? Because like, I mean, really, if you think about it, like we bring in you know, fucking Hernandez, and he gets beat in 30 seconds. I don't know if we're going to see him again for the rest of the season. We brought in Tommy Dreamer. We haven't seen him since. We might not see him for the rest of the season. We brought in Mr. Pec-tacular. We saw him one more time, but he literally died and was murdered and sacrificed to Matanza. So we're never going to see him again. Like what am I supposed to expect with all these new guys coming in if none of them are going to last?
And that's an excellent point. I think Lucha Underground, though, they'll kind of create a hierarchy through their presentation of new guys.
Yeah, because like clearly Jake Strong is going to stick around for a while, which I'm not necessarily overly excited about just because I'm not the biggest fan of him as an in-ring performer. But like, there are still a lot of guys like I'm questioning. Like, is Exo Licious going to be around for a while? Are we ever going to see Tommy Dreamer or Hernandez again? You know, like it's questions for me at this point.
And that's perfectly understandable. I mean, a question I have outside of that is, are these sacrifices leading up to something? Because you have to figure with every kind of mythical entity in history or in horror cinema or whatever, sacrifices are either to bring something back to life, and we know that's not Matanza's problem because, God and all that stuff, to make them more powerful, which is what I'm assuming. But like, is there another form here? Is it going to get to the point where Matanza is so powerful that Antonio can't contain it? Is it like, because, if you're, this has to be, what I'm getting at is, this has to be the first sacrifice to the gods match of many, right?
Yeah, that's what I was expecting too. This feels almost like another Dial of Doom kind of thing where it's going to be like a recurring thing.
Yeah, exactly. But like, what's the end game? Because I feel like with Dario's Dial of Doom, we never did get the anybody getting the title off of Matanza with that concept. That happened in Aztec Warfare 3.
Right.
Because, Dario put him in at number 1. So I don't know if anything bad is going to happen here either with Matanza or Antonio for that matter, or if he's just going to be so powered up that maybe the end game is, all right, enough sacrifice to the gods. You're as powerful as you're going to get. We fed you enough sacrifices. Or maybe like, all right, you've had your penultimate sacrifice, and now here's your ultimate sacrifice, a rematch with Pentagon Dark for the title. And then once you defeat him, like, then no one's ever going to be able to harm you ever again kind of thing. I don't know. My point being, I see a larger narrative thread at work here, and I'm having difficulty discerning what exactly that is because, these sacrifices have to lead to something. Do you have any ideas?
Hell no, dude. I don't know what they're going to lead to. I'm guessing they're going to lead to some big name being sacrificed.
Yeah, it's just a question of which big name is that going to be. Please, not Johnny Mundo.
Who needs to get written off that they're going to be able to use this as a way to do that,
You got to wonder too. See, no, but I always assumed that the Reptile Tribe was gonna handle that because we know Jack Evans, I think, is only a part of X number of tapings, but I thought the Reptile Tribe was going to handle that.
You do have a good point, though. It could be someone along those lines, someone that, we know doesn't want to be in Lucha Underground anymore. I don't know, man. We'll see. Maybe Angelico will show up and get sacrificed. I don't know.
But I think Matanza, and I love how Lucha Underground does this because they bring Matanza in, and he has what I would still to this day say was the best in-ring debut I've ever seen as a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
And he's dominant, and he goes on his run. But then he loses, and, he's nerfed a little bit, but then right back in the fray. I feel like he's reclaimed his status as, like, one of the most dominant Lucha Underground competitors. Like, I'm intimidated by him again, and I feel like he has that aura again with him. So I think that's really cool. I'm really happy for the Matanza character because, like you, I freaking love Jeff Cobb, and he deserves to be in this kind of a prominent spot. But I'm just curious where it's all going to go narratively because that's what it is for me with Lucha Underground is how does this tie to a larger narrative? But with that said, unless you have anything to add, we can move on.
All right, man. Well, I think that means that we can move on to our main event, which is King Cuerno versus Chavo. Solid match, but I'm going to let you do most of the talking because I usually am not as good at just kind of talking about matches as they happen.
Well, I'll tell you, Chavo gets an advantage early. He does kind of like a suplex and gets the back into the ring post, drives Cuerno's head into a table, and then his back into the announce table. So Chavo's very aggressive. But then you've got King Cuerno working more of a baby style, going to the top rope, doing stuff like cross bodies. And he did a sunset flip off the top rope, which was insane. So, yeah, it was a great contrast with Chavo obviously being the heel and Cuerno working more of a baby style, which suits him better than I thought it would. We get to see our arrow from hell, which is always freaking beautiful. There was a point where I thought Chavo was going to win because Cuerno's going for the Samoan driver, which he calls the throw of the hunt, but Chavo grabs the referee, slides out, and I thought he was going to low blow Cuerno. He doesn't, much to my shock. Instead, he just goes for three amigos, which I don't know. I kind of question it. It's like, why did you need to use the referee for all that? Like, why not milk it for all it's worth kind of thing? He doesn't get the third suplex, though, because, Cuerno counters him. And Cuerno does ultimately win the match with thrill of the kill, which what's the technical term for that, Ashton? Because it's escaping me here.
I would call it a package belly-to-belly pile driver.
Package belly-to-belly pile driver. Yeah, sick as fuck. I've said before that I feel like, I even said on Live Reactions tonight, with all these amazing competitors we have in wrestling today that would lay claim to being the quote-unquote best in the world and this and that, I think Cuerno is one of the more understated competitors kind of like Ishii in a way, where it's like, you know, they're going to have a good match, but I don't really think they ever really get the appreciation to the full extent that they deserve. And I'm just so happy for Cuerno, though, in this moment that he gets the win and that he's moving on to Gift of the Gods. I know you were the original, like, Cuerno fan. You know, you were the conductor of the train action, so you got to be thrilled about this. Do you think we can color him an early favorite to win the championship or not just yet?
I'm waiting to see the rest of the field.
I will say, though, Ashton, to kind of echo sentiments that you had to close out live reactions, I think it's turning into one hell of a field when you've got El Dragon Azteca Jr. and then King freaking Cuerno. And then next week, we know we're either going to get Cage or Mill in that mix. This might be the most stacked Gift of the Gods ever. Like,
yeah, and I think that's kind of what they're building it up to be. And that's why I think that, like, they really are kind of focusing on the leaders of the tribes, like the people who most represent their respective tribes.
Yeah. This is going to be nuts.
Even though Phoenix did belong to the Eagle tribe, the leader of the Eagle tribe has always been portrayed as El Dragon Azteca Jr.
Right. So and that's why I can definitely see your logic about Mill winning. It's just, man, whether it's Cage or whether it's Mill, this Gift of the Gods is becoming stacked. Like, Jesus Christ.
You know, I almost have to wonder, though, if, like, maybe Antonio Cueto is trying to assemble the tribes so that he can have them all in one place at one time to sacrifice.
Ooh, what? Shit, man. That'd be crazy.
I mean, we know we're going to get either Mill or Cage next week. If it's Mill, especially given how dominant Cage looked by beating down Pentagon, and then Cage asked for the match. If Mill wins next week, I think we need to start taking this whole leader of all 7 tribes concept seriously and maybe really kind of thinking about where it's going to go. Because at this point, it's pure speculation because, you know, it's only 2 guys. It could be a coincidence. But if Mill wins next week with all odds kind of seeming against him, I think that's when it's time to start really looking at it seriously.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. I've really got nothing to add about this match. So happy for King Cuerno that, you know, after really not being in the biggest spot or whatever, like now he's back this season and he's really picking up steam. It's like he's making up for lost time. And I'm totally cool with that. He's fucking awesome. If there's anything you want to add, Ashton, we can move on.
Let's move on. That was actually the end of the show. Cuerno holding the medallion up in victory.
Yeah, so no closing cinematic, which is kind of disappointing, but I won't hold it against the show because they never promise, like, oh, this episode will have a closing cinematic. We do get episodes like this. It's nothing new. It's just I always love their cinematics so much. You know, I'm like a spoiled child. I always want more. So our next segment, actually, before our next segment, let me get into plugs. Guys, especially for those that are new to Lucha Underground and have kind of used our channel as a resource, we have an all Lucha Underground content ever playlist because TWitWoW, and I will say this confidently, is the definitive Lucha Underground channel. We have done Luchador spotlights. We have done rewatches, you know, picking apart these episodes again for things that we might have missed. We have done reviews of every single episode. We have done live reactions. So everything, guys, everything is there. If you want to educate yourself.
And we've been here since the beginning, too. We started covering Lucha Underground after episode 2. And even in that episode, we reviewed both episodes 1 and 2. So we have not missed a single beat. But here's the thing, guys. If you go back and listen to our episodes 1 and 2 review, we have no clue what the hell we're talking about. I actually went back and I'm even like mispronouncing English words. Like I called Son of Havoc, Son of Havoc. Like I'm over enunciating shit. I don't necessarily think that episodes 1 and 2 are the best representative of what we are now. But the point is, we've been here since day 1, and not even day 1-ish. We've been here since day 1.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys want to know about Lucha Underground, and more specifically, if you want to know how we feel about Lucha Underground and what we come away with, the all Lucha Underground content ever playlist is for you. Speaking of TWitWoW, I want to remind everybody that all of our social media is in the description box. Everything from our Facebook to both of our Twitter handles. Now, let me break down the Twitter because this is important. Ashton's Twitter. This is immensely important for the month of June and, you know, most of August, or excuse me, all of July and part of August. Ashton's
You might as
pinned
well
tweet.
just say most of August too, because in August it goes to like the 23rd.
Yeah, oh my God. So, yeah, guys, even more important, his pinned tweet is the TWitWoW schedule. We have got recordings out the freaking ass this month and next month. If you want to stay on top of it and you want to, as they say here in our community, watch it all, you're going to want to go to Ashton's Twitter, follow him, look at the schedule. And I even emphasize follow him because you never know when there are going to be addendums or edits to the schedule.
Yeah, I literally just put up an updated schedule today because the previous schedule had us going live with NXT reviews at 10:30. That's not fucking possible. They're actually at 11:30. And I remembered to add our new Patreon requested live reaction that we're going to be doing on Sunday to a TNA show.
So yeah, guys, just go to Ashton's Twitter, and I personally would recommend the follow just to
but
really keep it.
Throw in there, it's a TNA show, yeah, but it's a TNA show from 2005, so that's when TNA was actually good.
Hell yeah! So yeah, guys, if you want to stay on top of everything, because much like a wrestling show, our card is subject to change. You're gonna want to stay on Ashton's Twitter and keep your finger on the pulse of the TWitWoW schedule. My pinned tweet, on the other hand, is for Q&A. I've had some rough computer changes as of late, but thankfully, since Q&A questions go to my pinned tweet, which is to collect your Q&A questions, or YouTube, if you comment on a YouTube video after it's done processing, or Facebook, again, our TWitWoW Facebook page, or Discord, which I'll get to in a second, the questions will all be there. I'll be able to copy them down. Q&A this month is July 26th. We do them the last Thursday of every month. If you're new to Q&A, I've already told you where to submit them. Pretty much how it works is everybody gets 4 questions per Q&A, and you can divide them up however you want. If all 4 questions would be suitable for both Ashton and myself, then you ask them to both myself and Ashton. If you've got a question that may be football related, that would be more appropriate for Ashton, so you would ask it only to Ashton. If you've got more of a philosophy question or maybe like an anime question or whatever, that would be more directed at me. You guys get the deal. So again, July 26th, you've still got over 3 weeks. Plenty of time to get your questions in. Don't wait. Get them in now. It's always very fun and very imaginative questions that you guys come up with. Should be a great time. Beyond that, guys, I do want to plug, lastly, the Patreon and the Teespring. Kind of working backwards here. Teespring, it's pretty much our TWitWoW store. We have everything from Scum Squad mugs to collect the tears of your adversaries to TWitWoW t-shirts. I'm a TWitWoW guy. I'm a TWitWoW girl. We also have t-shirts for specific superstars that you love. For example, if you're a fan of Los Ingobernables de Japón, Ashton made a very simplistic, straightforward, but beautifully done Tranquilo shirt. I would even use the word elegant because I really loved how he did the whole O with Tranquilo and stuff like that. A really great aesthetic. We have stuff like that. We have Braun Strowman. I'm not finished with you. And after how he's been bullying Kevin Owens, the shirt seems quite apropos. So all sorts of offerings there on Teespring. And then when it comes to the Patreon, guys, we have had such generous patrons. Even Super Blue this month donating such an amount that not only were we able to continue progress because that Patreon goal is $120 a month, but we're doing live reactions to 205 Live every week for the month of July. So just crazy how amazing our patrons are. But if you want to get in on it and you want to be a part of the TWitWoW crew and support what we do, the best way to do that for all parties would be $3 a month to join the Discord. In the TWitWoW Discord, you get to be with the most hardcore TWitWoW fans, as well as Ashton and myself, as we talk about Raw, SmackDown, music, the indie scene, anything you can really think of. We have a place for it in the Discord. So be a part of it. I think it's a great community, and you're definitely supporting the channel. And when you do, you also get content control out of it. So say you're a member of the Discord 10 months, $3 a month comes out to $30. You can cash that in for a live reaction to a 3-hour show. So I always call it a win-win-win-win. Be a part of it. You want to. Donate to the Discord. We'll greatly appreciate it. And I can't think of anything else to plug, so we can finally get to high spots and low shots. And, I'm going to be a bit different with my low shot. I'm going to say my low shot is Melissa Santos, because not only has she lost the love of her life now, but it got thrown back in her face tonight by Katrina, who was pretty much flaunting Phoenix's death in front of her face because Katrina's rejuvenation is a direct result of that. So not a good night for the ring announcer. And I only count her as a low shot because I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of Melissa Santos in the future. So I'm getting used to talking about her now. Ashton, who is your low shot?
My low shot's the fucking dead guy.
Okay, fair enough.
Mr. Pec-tacular, Ripperino.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't get any lower than being fucking dead. So I could certainly approve of that.
I mean, there's happy, and then there's just existing, and then there's miserable, and then there's mourning because someone you love died, and then there's fucking dead. And that's where Mr. Pec-tacular is.
Yeah. Not a great place on the pecking order.
No.
With that said, though, high spot. Let's see. Who do I want to go with my high spot?
I have mine ready.
You know what? I'm going to say my high spot is freaking Antonio Cueto. Because, like, everything he's wanted to do has been working out so far between, you know, unleashing the full power of the god in Matanza to then, you know, raking in the benefits with this sacrifice to the gods match. So I'm going to say Antonio Cueto is my high spot because, yeah, he's controlling the temple and Winter hasn't paid him any visits yet. So I guess he's keeping his nose clean. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, we all know that Dario never kept his nose clean in a very literal sense because we've seen him snort cocaine before.
Yeah, he was awesome. Who's your high spot?
I love the way you said that with that sense of like awe.
Yeah.
He was such a hero to everyone.
Coke, I mean, mainly because one of my favorite mom movies is Scarface. Coke is amazing, folks. But who's your high spot?
Just a viewer discretion warning. Everyone needs to know that John's views do not necessarily reflect the entirety of TWitWoW.
You know, that's the second time we've gotten one of those. I'm becoming a little concerned. But who are you picking for your high spot this week?
Vibora, baby! He showed. He kicked ass 1-3. He dominated. He set his tribe up for the victory, and he got to show off some of his sick-ass athletic moves. So, yeah, Vibora is my high spot.
God, I can't wait for Johnny Mundo to knee him in the face.
Yeah, he'll knee him in the face, and he'll fucking eat it and return fire.
You know what? Your face can eat this, all right? It's my sass. But yeah, so I picked my high spot. You picked yours. Do you have any concluding remarks about Lucha Underground tonight?
It was fun. I don't know if I'll say it was the best episode so far, but it was definitely improving over the first two. It's in a race with episode 3 for the best.
There you go. With that said, guys, this has been Lucha Underground. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment, subscribe, and like the video. Well, comment after it's done processing, of course. And the more likes you leave, the more likely we are to be the top search result for Lucha Underground reviews on YouTube. And when you're the best at what you do, the top is the only place that you belong. So please leave that like. Guys, I already did the very long and wordy plugs there before high spots, low shots. So all I'm going to say is we have one more commentary tonight. We are reviewing NXT tonight. Ashton, when are we going live with that? Because I know it's almost 10 now. Did you say 11:30 we're going live with that?
11:30, yeah. We're going live at 11:30 to review NXT. That gives us time to finish this up, eat if we want to, go to the bathroom, anything like that, and watch NXT before we go live. And
there you go. So 11:30 we'll be going live with our NXT review. Should be great. We got Chris Dijak versus Velveteen Dream. I know Kyrie's going to be on the show. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun to talk about. So we hope to see you there. Till then, guys, tune in and peace out.